Come if you can. Hancock and Vernon. 1 o'clock, Saturday. Be there. Support. The one, the only, Miss Amy Samet.
I moved to Austin in the summer of 1980 during a record heat wave with no job, no car, and no money. I was 22, I had a sense of adventure, and I was absolutely sure that everything was going to turn out just fine. I did have a place to live lined up, and I assumed it would have furniture and air conditioning, but when I got here, turned out I was wrong about the furniture and the air conditioning. My first night in Austin, it was a miserable 101 degrees. So I opened the window of my bedroom with no bed in it, hoping for a breeze, and I heard a train. It got louder, 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 louder. The house was shaking. I thought the train had derailed and it was coming straight at me. And that's when I learned that my little rent house on the access road to Mopac was 100 feet from the railroad tracks. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I looked down and saw my first cockroach. It was as big as a hot dog bun. Apparently the universe had not gotten the memo that I was about to jump, and it was supposed to catch me. Just a few days later I got a job, and that's where I met Gary. He was an older man. He was 28. He was welcoming and friendly. He had looks, he had charm, and that was just the beginning. When he found out I didn't have any furniture, he made a few calls, borrowed a pickup truck, and he rounded up a dresser, a bed, and a table for me. We ate lunch together every day, and I fell hopelessly in love with him. Perhaps the universe was going to catch me after all. On the 4th of July, he invited me to a picnic with his friends. It was 103 degrees that day, but I didn't care because I was with Gary. The Gay Pride picnic sign at the entrance to City Park did not give me a clue. Meeting half a dozen of his stunningly handsome gay friends who looked exactly like him did not give me a clue. Did I get a clue? Oh yeah, when he looked me straight in the eye and said, "Amy, I'm gay." I smiled and pretended that nothing had changed. And in a way, nothing had changed. I still loved Gary. Gary still loved me. But I was still in love with Gary, and Gary was not, never had been, and never would be in love with me. One Saturday morning, Gary called me and he said, "I need a favor. I went to Houston last night, and I brought somebody home with me, but I forgot that I had to work today. I wonder if you could entertain him." I said, "Sure, send him over." He said, "Oh, there's one more thing. He doesn't speak English." The guy who showed up on my front lawn 10 minutes later was drop dead gorgeous. He had this whole exotic, other side of the world, olive skin, jet black hair, flashing white teeth thing going on, and he was fit as a wild animal. I couldn't believe it. But then I remembered he was gay and I was just going to be his babysitter, and I started breathing again. I am Amy. My house is hot. Let's walk. I am Abraham. I am speaking some English, and I'm not deaf. We headed for the hike and bike trail with me working hard to keep things simple, coming up with easy questions on safe subjects, using all small words while smiling and maintaining eye contact and trying not to talk to him like he was a special needs child. For the next 2 hours, we walked and we talked about his favorite kind of food, and the music that he liked, and cars, and trees, and animals. And I gotta tell you, Abraham was a really good sport about everything. He was a gentleman, he was attentive, and did I mention he was gorgeous? At one point, he tried to tell a joke and all the humor was lost in translation, and we had a really good laugh over how funny it wasn't. Finally, we sat down in the shade, and Abraham said, "We should not be getting along so good." I said, "Why not?" He said, "I'm from Iran, you are a Jew." I just met you today, and I like everything about you a lot. And then, in the dearest, sweetest gesture of kindness, he slipped his hand into mine, as if to say, "I appreciate everything you've done." Well, I thought that's what he was saying, until his other hand touched my wrist and continued up my arm and up to my neck and into my hair. And that's when I realized that Abraham wasn't gay. Thank you, universe. Thank you. It turned out that 10 years earlier, back when Gary and Abraham were both in high school, way before Gary had come to terms with his sexual orientation, he went to Iran as an exchange student, and he lived with Abraham and his family. Gary and Abraham bonded like brothers. And then, years later, when things got bad in Iran, Abraham wrote to Gary, and he said, "I wish to come to the United States. Would you be willing to sponsor me?" And of course, Gary said, "Of course." The story of the summer I was 22 may seem like nothing more than a series of blunders and bad judgment calls. But when I think back to that time in my life, I am nothing but proud that once upon a time, I was 22 and fearless, and I had an open heart and an open mind. I'm proud and I'm grateful for the one true thing that I learned that summer. It may not happen when you think it will, or how you think it will, but if you jump, the universe